Welcome everyone to the June 12th meeting of the Brentwood Rotary Club. For those visiting with us today, I am your honored president, Sarah Johnson, and I just want to thank you all for being with us. I'm excited to hear our district governor-elect's goals and objectives for our next Rotary year. So thank you for being with us today. And Jeff Brasher will be introducing Miss April here in just a little bit. Our invocation is going to be led by Sana Robinson, and our pledge and four-way test will be led by Alan Treadway. So Sana.
Thank you, Sarah. Would y'all please bow your heads with me? We come to you humbly today, Father, as Rotarians, American citizens, and individuals, asking for your help as we navigate these unknown waters that are deep and wide and full of obstacles. We ask that you help our club leaders, our city and state leaders, and our nation's leaders to guide us in a way that leads to better relationships with our fellow citizens and not further division and strife. We pray you give us empathy and insight into the difficult paths that others must walk because of their heritage or the color of their skin or disadvantages. We also are grateful for our local protectors, our policemen, our firemen, and healthcare workers who risk their own lives and those of their families and work so hard to keep us safe. Safe seems like such an overused term today, Lord. So know that those of us who believe in you understand that only you provide safe harbor in the storms like the one that we are experiencing. Help us to trust your guidance always as we serve others above ourselves, respect the authority of those who protect us, and have mercy on those who need it the most. Be with our club members who are dealing with health issues and financial difficulties, the loss of a job, the loss of loved ones, and the loss of hope. Fill us with the power of your hope, and may it be living water to quench our thirst for equality and fairness for our brothers and sisters and all of your children. May we have the vision to see character above color, life above death, and your light that continues to break through the darkness. We ask all of this in your Son, Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sana.
Yeah.
Alan?
Yeah, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of
America,
and
to
to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, liberty
and justice for all.
Now, if you'll join me in the four-way test. Number one.
Is it the truth?
True. Number two.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number three.
Will it build goodwill
and better friendships?
And number four.
Will it be beneficial to all
concerned?
Back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you, Sana. I'm going to now open up the meeting to any guest or visiting Rotarians. If you are a guest or a visiting Rotarian, if you would please just introduce yourself and either tell what club you're from or what organization you're with. I know I got one, Miss Denise.
Denise Carruthers, Franklin Rotary Club at breakfast.
Thank you, Denise. Anyone else? Well, all right then. Well, I'm going to also open up the floor for any happy bucks. Just as a reminder, we will, I'll talk about some announcements in a minute, but if you would like to put $1 in the hat or contribute to Happy Bucks, feel free to mail in a check, or we can wait till we're all back together and pass the bucket, so to speak. So, is anyone happy?
Sarah, I'm happy. I've got 5 happy bucks today. The first one is for us promising to get together next week for those of us who are able in a meeting space over at Granny White Park. The other four are for the 4 volunteers that I'm going to get instantly. What I need is 4 Rotarians who do Zoom on their cell phones who are planning to be at next Friday's meeting to please get in touch with me. We've got some plans for how to deliver the content to the members who aren't able to be there in person, but I do need 4 volunteers who are going to use their cell phone or who have used their cell phone for Zoom meetings to help me out. So chat window or email me after the meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, Linus. Who else is happy?
I have happy. I'm actually going to have to miss next week's meeting because my daughter is getting married next weekend, and I'll have a lot of family in. So thank you. So happy celebration for us next week.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. Who else?
Sarah, happy bucks because I am happy, but also just an update. We have verified all of our sponsors that we had for our golf tournament except one are still in, and that one sponsor was the only team we've lost. So we've got all of our sponsors and all but one team set up, and there'll be an announcement coming next week about how we're going to move forward the next 90 days for our golf tournament. So everything's right now is in really good shape. Makes me very happy.
Congratulations, Larry. Thank you for all your hard work. Who else? Well, I'm happy. I told some of you, my nephew has been in town since May 22nd, and I have learned to appreciate all the parents that I know of my fellow friends. And he is going home tomorrow, which is not why I'm happy, but I'm happy because he said, Gigi, I've had such a good time. I'm going to come back for another month next year. So that makes my heart happy. So I'm putting in $20 for Fisher. Anyone else? Well, all right then. I have a few announcements for us. Just as a reminder, the grant committee has mailed out checks for all of our small community grants to each of the sponsors because we did defer having our community grant meeting till later when it's safer to meet in person and we're not under the same restrictions of our that's going on with the various phases. To those sponsors, please, if you go and present the check in person, to please take a picture or have someone take a picture of you presenting the check. What I would like to do is spotlight our organizations on social media over the next few weeks so that they can get recognition for all the good works that they do in the community. So if you would do that and send it to me, I'd appreciate it. And then I'm going to get it all to the PR committee so they can kind of start doing like a weekly spotlight. Also, as Linus mentioned, we are going to have our first in-person meeting next week, April 19th at Granny White Park. This one will be at our normal time. There is a limit. No more than 50 people can be at the meeting. So you'll be receiving an RSVP in the next few days. If you intend to be at the meeting, please RSVP, and we need to get those in fairly soon so that Larry can get a food count. So we'll need to have them in by Tuesday, if at all possible. And it will be through our normal RSVP methods. Also, we are going to be Zoom. Thank you, Linus and Devin and Larry. We're also going to be broadcasting on Zoom. So those of you that aren't able to make the meeting or that aren't comfortable, you'll still be able to be involved via Zoom and social media. So that's going to be set up for next week. As everyone knows, we've also postponed our installation banquet. So instead, we are going to have a meeting on Friday the 26th. And this meeting is going to be an installation ceremony. to welcome Keeley as our new president and hear what all he's got scheduled and goals and objectives and everything for us, as well as the last chance to roast Sarah before the meeting is up. I know, Charles, you're excited about that. So that date will also be on the RSVP. So even if you can't make one, please make sure you answer both questions so that we can get an accurate count. The next board is going to decide if we're going to have another banquet. If so, it'll probably be later in the year, or we may just have a larger holiday banquet so that we can all spend time together with spouses. The golf committee has met, and they did move the golf tournament to September 21st. Larry has been working diligently and his team on notifying everyone, and we look forward to hearing more from him next week as an update. Speaking of next week, Keeley is going to be your MC for our Zoom meeting. I am going to South Carolina. We're having a memorial service for my uncle that passed away next Friday, so I will be there, but I will try to Zoom in. So everybody be kind to Keeley. We'll have a test run, and then I will be back the next Friday. So just wanted to let everyone know. And I ask that everybody keep in your prayers Susie Lindsay, who broke her foot, Robert and Dottie Fiddler, Roger Wheelwright, and John Stokes as they continue to deal with ongoing health issues. And with that, I'm going to turn our meeting over to Jeff Brasher to introduce our speaker. Jeff?
Sarah, thank you very much. Just as a quick, Jeff Brasher, member of Rotary since 2008, and fortunately or unfortunately have followed in the footsteps of Miss Carruthers for a number of years right now. But in all honesty, we're kind of like brother and sister, and at least I know I have a huge amount of respect for Denise, so don't let anybody kid you on that. But more importantly, I want to do an introduction on April Lieberman, and I'm going to kind of read a little bit, not everything that's on here. It's more important for us to listen. But April, a undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University, Yale Law graduate, and former appellate attorney. As you all know, April will be our district governor for the year 2020 and 21. She has served in every numerous district positions and award winners, too many to mention. And the biggest one, obviously, was Rotarian of the Year for 2018 and 2019. She is a local member of the Dresden, Tennessee Rotary Club. As a former Austin Peay College player and proud mother of 2 daughters, I'd like to welcome April Lieberman for her presentation.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you, Sarah. It is a real pleasure to be with the Brentwood Rotary Club today. I know many of you through my involvement in the district, and certainly Dick Bowers is a mentor of mine on the College of Governors, and was my professor in the Rotary Grad School, as many of you have done that program as well. And Jeff, I know that's where I first met you, was when you went through the Rotary Grad School program. So he ran that for us for many years. He's handing that off to our wonderful Jerome Bannister is taking over that. But certainly I've worked with Susie Lindsay, and I've worked with Steve Grissom, and John Miles was a wonderful friend to me and mentor, and my guru on all things procedural and the deep, dark bowels of Rotary International. That he was certainly a fount of knowledge and inspiration for me, and took me under his wing, and certainly was my go-to when I was working on the district newsletter for his archival knowledge, and Susie Lindsay as well, of all things District 6760. So you've got a strong tradition in your club of service at the district level. And Molly Chatterjee, I first met through the Rotary Grad School and through her work supporting the Rotary Foundation. So you've got a proud tradition, and I am just really, really pleased to be asked to be your speaker today. You are my trial run. You are my very first official act as a district governor to be. You're my very first club meeting, my official visit. As you may have already learned, I have been asked by Rotary International to do all of my meetings virtually through the end of 2020. And it is, it's not the year I had planned on having when I left International Assembly back in January in San Diego, and I had met our incoming president, Holger Knack, and certainly we 535 district governors-elect had headed back to our home districts and communities and had a certain year in mind, and 2020 is not what any of us could have predicted, for sure. Rotary International's, the board met in April and decided that they had already called off the convention in Honolulu, of course, after the pandemic struck, and decided as the board through the rest of calendar year 2020 through December 31st, not to have any official Rotary gatherings in person, that all Rotary activities would be done virtually. And they asked that on behalf of Rotary, of the zone leadership. We typically have a zone institute, and that brings together our zones 30 and 31 from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Great Lakes. So that is that training for our incoming district leadership for next year will be done virtually as well. All Rotary travel is halted. For RI, or even down to my level, they've asked district governors not to meet in person and to have all district events be virtual as well. So we are hard at work in converting the programs that we typically offer through 6760, like Rotary Leadership Institute. Our leaders, our coordinators, JD Rotaro and Gib Backlund are working with the national RLI group to bring us a virtual offering, an online offering. Of course, our Rotary grad school that Dick ran for so many years is already an online program. So we're going to be opening up the call for the class of 2021, as we always do. And I hope you'll be sending more students our way for that program from your selection of past presidents. If any of you are, as a past leader of the club, want to get involved in district activities, I encourage you to participate in that program, and I'm sure you've heard about it from Dick Bowers many times. But it's certainly one of the top programs that I participated in my own personal Rotary journey, in terms of just pure knowledge of everything from top to bottom that you could want to know to get involved on a district level. We are also revamping club visioning to bring that to the clubs that have not already done club visioning. It's being brought online, Visioning 2.0. It was already in the process of being rethought and modernized, refreshed. And so that will be something that we're bringing you more news of as the year gets underway as another opportunity. Our mid-year conference will have to be virtual. Typically it's either in October, but usually November. This year we will have a virtual offering, and we typically will have on a Friday evenings our foundation dinner. That's where you learn about your foundation banner recognitions and awards. So we're going to have to turn that into a virtual celebration to help you celebrate your accomplishments, Sarah, for 2019-2020. And hopefully you'll be bringing home more banner awards as you do each year. It's just a different year. You know, hopefully there's really no way of knowing what's going to happen on January 1st, whether we will be allowed to open this up in terms of district meetings. But for us, primarily, it's a strong encouragement. It's certainly not a mandate. Each Rotary Club is individual, and you control when you start meeting again, if that's what your local conditions permit. And what Rotary is requesting of us is to continue offering the Zoom option. And when you do start meeting in person again, as you are next week, to continue offering the virtual opportunity for those who may not feel comfortable participating in person. So you're handling everything perfectly and just as RI would want you to do, and I encourage you to continue that. Just a little bit about me. My journey into Rotary, I would like to share with you from a personal perspective what this organization means to me, and what I see as its possibilities for us and our culture and the challenges that we're going through today. As I shared with you a little bit before the meeting started, I grew up just up the road in Gleason, Tennessee. I grew up on a farm and went to Gleason High School and was a basketball player, and went on and went to school at Austin P, where I played ball, and Vanderbilt and Yale Law. And I had built a life. I had 2 little girls, was practicing law at a law firm up in Connecticut. And this is 20 years ago. I had just turned 30 years old. And I've never really talked about this much before. It's certainly not in a Rotary context, but I feel it's important to share with you sort of my background as to why I love this organization so much. One day I was taking a group of attorneys to lunch, and we were in the hallway and going into the elevator, and the elevator door malfunctioned, and it struck me in the right temple, the hoistway door. And it hit me with such impact that my head went flush to my left shoulder, herniating 3 discs in my neck, and I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And that was the end of my legal career. That's the last day I ever practiced law. And it was devastating in every respect. I lost my profession, everything I'd worked for, all those years going to school. I had 2 little girls, one who was 2 years old and one who was 8 months old, who I could no longer even hold. It was devastating in every aspect of my life. Personally, it was 7 years before I could walk without a cane, or before my speech cadence started to return, before I could sound to my old friends like myself again. My speech had been very halting. I had to learn to teach myself to read again by trying to read to my babies Goodnight Moon. I had to struggle with a Yale Law degree. I had to struggle to find the words to read Goodnight Moon. And I had to learn to write again. And word location, and being able to bring my vocabulary forth and to express myself. People weren't really sure what type of recovery I could ever hope to expect to have. And in fact, at 3 years after my injury, I had great difficulty walking, would either have to walk with a cane or for any amount of distance in a wheelchair, to be pushed in a wheelchair. And extreme spasticity, if you've seen Wounded Warriors on those commercials, you know, with the movement disorder, I looked like I had Huntington's disease. And this was my life daily for years. And I tell you what, I decided in my mind that I must have been a serial killer in a past life, because I knew I hadn't done anything in this life to deserve what had befallen me. But I didn't give up, and I went through a lot of years of therapy. I went through cognitive therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, psychotherapy, and a highly unsuccessful attempt at marriage counseling. So after 7 years of this, my husband divorced me, and I found myself alone and wondering at 37 years old, what do I do with the rest of my life? I decided just to focus on my girls. I had shared custody. I was living in Atlanta at the time. And I just decided to focus on my children, but I withdrew from the world. And I withdrew from my friends because it hurt me to see them, because I knew they were hurting for me. And that really wasn't helping anybody. So I withdrew. I was always very social and happy. And for any of you who have ever met me at a district event, you just need to know, if you didn't have any idea that I'd ever been through something like this, that was my goal. That was my goal in all of my recovery, was to get to the point someday that I could meet new people and they would have no idea. You never know when you meet someone what they carry, or what their load is, what their burden is, or in my case, what their inspiration is. I can tell you, in my very darkest day, I made a promise to myself that someday I was going to get better and I would be able to help people the way people had helped me. I made that promise to me when nobody ever thought I would ever get better, when nobody could have imagined a future for me, anything like what I've made for myself. But that was a promise I made to me. And I didn't know when it was going to happen or how, but I knew someday I was going to find a way to repay all the people who had shown me kindness and compassion. And I ended up a few years ago moving back home to West Tennessee, where I grew up, this little bitty town, 1,200 people, where I came from. And one day in 2013, I was asked to come to a Rotary meeting. Now, I knew what Rotary was in my hometown because it built the softball park I grew up playing in. It ran the summer program where I was a little girl and all the kids in town had a safe place to be growing up, and activities to keep us out of trouble. One of the Rotarians there in Gleason had actually sponsored all of us kids to have free swim lessons because he had lost a younger sibling back during the Depression who had drowned, and wanted to make sure no child in Gleason would drown for lack of knowing how to swim. And so that's what Rotary did in my own little town of Gleason, Tennessee. I was a little girl, didn't know a thing about the world or about Rotary, other than those were the people in town who cared about us kids and wanted to make sure we had something to do and some kind of activity. So when I moved back to this little town, after this life I'd lived 25 years away from it, I was invited to come to a Rotary meeting. And I told my sisters that I was, I went and I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And went back the next week, and I knew I wanted to be a member. And I'm like, you know what? This is a way I'm going to find to get involved in my community and try to give something back to this little town that gave me so much. And I told my sisters that I had joined the Rotary Club, and they're like, you mean those old men who eat down at the bank? And I'm like, well, yeah, but you know, they actually let in women these days. And So it's not just the old men, it's, you know, it's women too, and people of all ages, and they don't eat at the bank anymore. At this little restaurant, Southern, Simply Southern. And it's 15 people on a good night for that club. And the president of the club was named Joe Stewart, and he took me under his wing, and within a few months, I found myself, he told me one night, they're one of the evening clubs, they meet on Monday nights. And he said, April, I've decided you're my president-elect. And I'm like, what? And a few months after that, I found myself at Mid-South Pets. And when I showed up at Mid-South Pets, honestly, I didn't know the first thing about Rotary International at all. And I was so inspired to learn about the work eradicating polio and you know, the 6 areas of focus and learning all of the impact that Rotary has, not just in my little town, not just in Gleason, but across Tennessee, all these other club presidents that I was meeting, and all across the world. I had no idea. I just knew that they built a softball park for children in Gleason, Tennessee. That's truly all I knew about Rotary International. And I tell you what, it changed my life. Going into this year, our theme from our incoming president, Holger Knack, is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And I am a living testament to that. It has never been truer. And certainly in my life, it opened up my opportunity to have an impact, to make a difference, to contribute something to my community, to meet people like you, to form these connections. In the morning, I'm going to be participating in a wonderful program, Rotary Mobile Food Pantries, where I don't know if you've heard about it. We've been sharing it online, but it's the district had applied for a $25,000 disaster relief grant from the Rotary Foundation. And this is just one amazing service of the Rotary Foundation, one area of service, but it's a fairly new program to offer disaster relief grants. We were awarded $25,000, which is being converted to $50,000. District Governor Bob Huffman leveraged that to $50,000 of bulk food items that are being distributed to our counties across the district with the highest rates of food insecurity, with the highest rates of poverty. And one of those towns where that's being distributed is my hometown. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to Gleason, and I'm going to participate in that food distribution. And that is Rotary continuing to help people, just as it was 50 years ago in my hometown, just as it was 70 years ago in my hometown. It continues to help in new ways, in new programs, and touch new lives. There are going to be children that are fed tomorrow, and they're not going to know anything about Rotary or the world. Some little 10 or 12-year-old little child will have a good meal tomorrow because of Rotary. Some child, a hungry child, will eat tomorrow because of this organization. And I am blessed. We are blessed to be a part of an organization that can have an impact like that. And this is the type of work you've been doing in Williamson County. I know you work with the other Williamson County clubs through Habitat. I know you've worked through the Starfish program with bringing clean water to families that didn't even have a well right there in Williamson County. I know you've worked in literacy programs. And I know your impact is not just Williamson County. You've had an impact, you know, from Belize to Calcutta, India. through your desire to make a difference, the 108 of you that are members of the Brentwood Rotary Club, you are continuing to open opportunities. Rotary is opening opportunities for people across Williamson County, across this district, and across the world. And we are blessed to be a part of it. And I want to encourage you to think about, in particular, going into this year. We have a turbulent. Sana spoke so beautifully in her invocation about the challenges that we're going through as a society. We have a pandemic of COVID-19, which has affected our neighbors and our families and our friends. And I know we're scared. And I know that it's challenging economically for those whose work and income have been disrupted. And that is part of what these Rotary mobile food pantries are attempting to address, are the special needs. I urge you to look around you and see what special needs, extraordinary needs, are in your community. Find new ways to serve. Find new ways to have an impact, to reach out to those who are affected by this pandemic. And I also want you to use those same resources and use your heart and think about what ails us more spiritually, more systemically, and in our soul. And that is the topic of race relations and justice that we have seen on our television screens, we have seen in our town squares. We see these discussions going on in our communities. And let Rotary also lead on those efforts. One of our areas of focus is peace building. Let us build peace in our own community on the issue of race and justice. We are uniquely positioned to bring together community leaders of disparate backgrounds, of different races, of different political persuasions, of different religions, different cultures. We are uniquely positioned to bring together our communities, to have a healing conversation on race and how we can build peace and bring justice in our communities. I urge you to look within yourselves, to look at your neighbors, to look at your club as that conduit to bring healing, to serve the needs of the community, to make those connections. And remember that we are blessed. We are blessed to be a part of an organization where we can matter, where we can make a difference, and we can open opportunities for others and for everyone in our community. And I want to thank you for being my very first district governor official visit. It's not the year that I had anticipated, that any of us did, that Keeley did, as Keeley starts his year of leadership for you. But I want you to know whatever you need and whenever you need it, I am in the district and all of our leaders in the line for district governor, Michael Babb, who will follow me, and Eddie Allred, and Bob Huffman, who I've been the understudy for this year. So many good people, and Jeff Brasher will be a resource, and Denise Carruthers, we will continue to be a resource for you, whatever you need. And we want to help you continue doing the good work you do in your community. And I just want you to know it's the honor of my life to be your district governor. And I thank you.
Thank you, April, so much for being with us. And I'm just going to read a couple of the comments we've had in chats, just so you know. One of our members said, tremendous program, April. Awesome story. You're the true personification of Rotary. And another one of our past presidents said, I almost skipped this meeting as I've heard over 40 district governor talks over the years. Thankfully, I did not. My Rotary compass needed re-energized, and boy, did it ever from this impressive lady's comments. Thank you. If anyone has any questions or comments for April, please put them into chat. Our own PDG, Dick Bowers, has just said 2 thumbs up. Well done, April. And so I'm sure April would love to take anyone's questions. Sure. If you have any. Sana says, it sounds like hunger is a primary platform for you. Are there any others, April?
Absolutely. I hope to support each of the 6 areas of focus. Hunger is just one. Peace building is another. And through our work, hopefully fostering dialogue in our communities on issues of race and justice, we can contribute to building peace in our communities. It's I think often something that we think of as other, as that's something that happens in war zones. That's something that happens in more troubled parts of the world. Peace building is something we can do right here in Tennessee. And this is our opportunity to really show what Rotary can do. And the reach that we have, the strength is in our diversity, is in bringing together from so many different backgrounds. We often, we surround ourselves with people who are like us. Rotary is one of those opportunities to branch out and bring in and get to know others from different professions, different backgrounds, different religions, different cultures. We are open to all. And we need to keep that in mind and keep extending that invitation for others to be a part of this amazing organization and to tap in and use our programs as a chance to bring the community together and foster conversations and collaborations. Let's do what we do best, and that is fostering connections for the service of our community. That's really what I would ask you to do. And whether you're doing that on a sanitation and water project like the Starfish program, or whether you're doing that to foster a conversation on race, or whether you're doing that to feed hungry children or to get them dictionaries to read, whatever, I want you to find your area of focus that's your passion. And if Brentwood Rotary is not currently addressing a need that you see, I challenge you, bring it up to the club. Bring it up to Sarah and to Keely and to your board and your leadership, and propose a new project to address a need that you see. Find what is your passion in Rotary? What is your passion? Like, when you look back on your life, what do you hope is something that you made a difference in? And why not use Rotary as a conduit, as a vehicle for making that difference? Each of you can have that impact. But thank you for the question.
And I'll echo what April was saying, that we actually this year started working on an inclusion playground that COVID's kind of paused, because there was a definite need for children in the Brentwood community to be able to have a place to go and play, and they're just like everybody else. And so more on that will be coming in Keely and Betsy's years. But we are still working on it. That's a project continuation that our club is rallied behind, and they're just amazing men and women. We have time for a few more questions if anybody has any. Please put them in chat, and I'll be more than happy to read them. And if not, I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes, Miss April.
All righty. I'm happy to answer any questions. Or if you have any other questions about RI and district, you know, what's on the horizon. A few other things I could share with you that come to mind. Rotary Youth Exchange. A lot of people, we just got a communication from RI. The board met this past week and have decided that Youth Exchange is suspended through the end of 2020, along with their other decisions in terms of in-person activities. But they're opening up the possibility for limited youth exchange after in 2021. More will come on that. Tommy Martin and Mike Thompson are our leaders and coordinators for Rotary Youth Exchange. As we learn more, I will continue to share with you guys. This has been a fast-moving situation. Wait a week and it will be a whole new set of rules and a whole new set of challenges. But as I learn from RI and as we get information coming in and as that affects our district, I'll be sure to be sharing it with you guys, with your club leaders, and with Keely to share with you and posting on social media. But it's a huge challenge. I mean, we've just never seen anything like this in our lifetimes. So a lot of what but you know what, there are going to be good things too. I think we're going to end up with meetings that are more accessible. Sometimes life gets busy, or you're traveling, or your job changes, or you're home with kids, or you're homesick, and you can't make it to a Rotary meeting. And we're going to keep, I believe, this accessibility of technology of Zoom, and that I think is going to end up making us stronger. It's going to keep us connected from those who might have drifted away from Rotary because of life circumstances. So I really think we're going to have to look and focus on the positive, and this is going to make us stronger.
Well, it doesn't look like I have any other questions that have come through the chat. And thank you so much, April, for joining us today. It's nice to, I think the club is very appreciative to get to meet you and put a face with the name and actually hear from your heart. And we all appreciate that very much. Everyone else, just a reminder about make sure you check your emails about the RSVP if you would like to show up in person at the Rotary meeting next week on the 19th. One of our speakers will be the illustrious Larry Kane, and we look forward to seeing everybody. So thank you all for being with us, and if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we're adjourned.
One quick thing is to invite you guys. We'll be having that celebration on June 27th. Is I mentioned the district governor installation. We invite Keely to be installed along with the other presidents-elect. And that evening, Bob Huffman will be presenting district awards. So you definitely want to tune in and see if Brentwood is going to be bringing home a district award. You guys do every year in one category or another. So I would encourage you to definitely be tuning in, and we'll be sharing information about that in the next week.
April, will it be a Zoom format?
It will be offered. I believe Bob is having a limited group that's going to meet in person, but my participation will be virtually, and that will be offered to all the district to dial in by Zoom and participate virtually.
Great. Perfect. Well, thank you. And if there's nothing else, everybody, we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.